we left Pearl Harbor, headed for Iwo Jima with a load of Seabees. And the Seabees were to repair the airfields on Iwo Jima after we took it over. And so we went through and boy, that. So as we traveled up there, we went into Guam, and then we went into Saipan, and then we headed to the Caroline Islands, and then we went from the Caroline Islands to Iwo Jima. We were to land D-Day to let off the troops, and when we got there, there was so much stuff on the beach that we couldn't land. So we had to back off and anchor for, I think we were anchored for 2 days before they had the beach clear enough for us to land onto it. So when we landed onto it, we were to unload the Seabees to repair this airfield. But we couldn't unload them because we were still fighting. They couldn't get in too far on the beach on of the artillery.
Some holdouts?
From the out, yeah. And so we was there about 3 days before we could pull in and unload our troops. And so when we got in there, we unloaded the Seabees, and then we had to pull off for a couple of days, and then there was a big hill on where they raised the flag on the same. So one of our jobs was about 500 feet from this hill, and we had to keep the Japanese pinned in. So we carried submachine guns on deck, and if we seen anything floating in the water, we riddled it, because the Japs would get under these boxes, and then they would come out by the ship and throw hand grenades up onto it. So that we had to keep them pinned in the hole so they couldn't do that. And so we was there, what they figured would be about a 2-day job turned out to be a few months. So we was pinned there at the hill, keeping these Japanese pinned in so they could raise the flag.
So you were on a LST?
Yes, the LST that we pulled into the beach and hit the beach high and dry. And then we'd let down a ramp and then let off our troops or whatever we was carrying. We'd let them off and they could go ashore and do the fighting. And then of course we'd have to pull back off and set and our main problem was then is the air raids that the Japanese would put on us. So, any other questions?
Do you have anything else?
No. Well, what other stories do you have from it? From when you were there?
Well, you know, it's kind of odd, you know, you figure you're in a war zone and boy, things are terrible. But yeah, we was watching movies down on the main deck, on the tank deck. We had a spare time watching movies. While they were fighting outside.
Did you come close to any of the fighting?
Oh yeah, we was in a few of the air raids. We hit the suicide planes. When one time we was in a flotilla, they had 12 ships, you know, flotilla. They called that a 12 ship, and we had an air raid, and one of the suicide planes headed right for our stern, and I was on a twin 40 on the stern, but we was able to shoot it down before it could dive into it. But we had a minesweeper on our right side of us that took a suicide plane right in the stern. But when we first seen these planes, we thought they were American planes. Civilian, the island. So it was a little while before we realized that they were Japanese. They weren't American planes. And so that's how they they hit quite a few ships, like, because everybody was taking it that it was American planes flying around. And it wasn't, it was Japanese planes.
So you shot it down?
Yep, we shot the one that was after us. But there was 2 or 3 other LSTs. There was a minesweeper right next to us that took one, and an LST in back of us that a suicide plane got into. And then it was almost like the buzzards that all the planes headed for it, trying to sink it. And so.
Okay, well, thanks.